he was a guy that, when we did Fury together, that was such a wild experience. And, he was this guy who came in, he like pulled his tooth out because he thought his character shouldn't have a tooth. He like cut his face, he didn't shower for 8 months. And at first when I met him, I was like, wow, this guy's just he's just loud, he's wearing his process on his sleeve, showing everybody how hard he's working. But what I found, after the 8 months of working with him was somebody who, and and it's just my own, he is every bit, this thing is every bit as vital to him as it was with me. I found a real partner. I found a real kindred spirit. I found that he was so fucking cute. He was willing to risk it all for the work. And I walked away with like an enormous amount of respect for him and love for him. I also saw a guy who grew up as a child star, a guy who was felt like he needed to bleed out for his art, felt that he needed to live wildly out on the street and in real life in order to sort of maintain that danger in his work. And I'm coming from a guy, me at this point, where I did all that when I didn't have the umbrella of being, a big movie star, and I didn't have that. But now I'm a guy who's absolutely a committed husband and father. That is my life. Like my life is my family, and what I found is the things that I can tap into and my emotional sort of accessibility of being a dedicated father and husband is so much greater than when I was sort of this wild animal. And I care about people way more than I care. So I really wanted to be there for him. And the first thing I remember seeing him and seeing this like raw nerve and this unbelievable talent, I would say I think he's the best actor I've ever worked with. And I really wanted to protect him. And I think more than anything else, I really wanted to show him what a real friend was like. I just remember like saying that to myself. I want to show you what a real friend is like. I feel like you've never really had a real friend. And my friends, the guys that I grew up with, they've been my best friends my whole life. They couldn't do anything without him. I value that so much, right? So we had him on the podcast real early on, and before this stuff came out, and it was right at a time when he had gotten in trouble down in Georgia, and he went to rehab, and he wrote this movie sort of about his own life called Honey Boy that got nominated for an Oscar, and he wrote it, and he started, he played his dad. It was a movie about his life, and I kind of had him on sort of celebrating